Greetings, everyone. Dr. Jack Wolfson here. Pleasure to be with you. Do me a favor, let me know how our sound is coming in. We are currently in Costa Rica, and that's why I'm in my casual attire right now. Please let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Good sound. Okay. So my marketing team asked me to do something in professional attire because a lot of you are meeting me for the first time. And life doesn't always roll that way. Life rolls in a different way sometimes. And you got to accept your reality and you got to work always to be better. Now, that being said, I worked for years and years and years as a conventional cardiologist, wearing a button-down shirt with a tie, very often a sport coat. And I don't do that anymore. Why? Because it's not healthy, number one. It's uncomfortable, number two. Number three, it's, I guess, expensive to maintain all your dry, clean clothes. But it's not what I want to do. And it's not what I want to teach you inside of this presentation and of this recording. If you don't know me, I'm Dr. Jack Wolfson, cardiologist for over 20 years. I'm currently in Costa Rica. The audio quality may not be great. The internet goes down, but we roll with the punches. I'm not from a broadcast studio. This is how real life is, people. So again, I appreciate you being here. We got a lot to talk about. So if you're interested in preventing a heart attack, this is the conversation we're going to talk about right now. This is what we're teaching in this particular YouTube Live. The replay will be available to anyone and everyone. This is where, if you want to prevent a heart attack and you are not enthralled with traditional medicine, this is how we're going to do it with us at Natural Heart Doctor. All of you are inside the 28-day heart challenge. Each day is a little tidbit. It's a little bit of a nugget to try and help you on your path to health and wellness. And that's what we want to provide with you a little bit. This is not necessarily a deep dive into science. You want to go deep, we can go deep. We can go deep at other times. We can also, you can read our blogs, our webinars, my master classes, lots of stuff there. But in this particular presentation, we're going to talk about things for about the next 45 minutes. Then we can do a Q&A at the end. And a lot of you are here because you understand that heart disease is the number one killer in the world. You understand that mainstream medicine is not solving anything for anyone. And you understand that there's a better way, and that's what we're going to provide for you, is a better way. I'm just going to take a second, guys, and relocate a little bit here. And wherever you're at, if you're not in Costa Rica, you want to be here because this is a great place to be. Unless, of course, you're a digital nomad and things can be a little bit difficult. Hello to everyone. Again, there are thousands of people who are scheduled to be on this call from all around the world. So I do want to give you, again, my appreciation for all of you being here. I can't acknowledge everyone, but a lot of familiar names and a lot of new names for me. So, Dr. Dennis, your information is more important than how you look. I hope I look good. I feel really good down here in Costa Rica. When I was on stage at The Truth About Cancer in 2016, I said you cannot get healthy in the same environment where you got sick. So if you want to be healthy and well, you got to change up the environment. Now that could be the actual physical environment. It could also be the sleep environment, the sunshine environment. It could be your house. It could be your location. It could be your mental wellness environment or your doctor environment. It could be a lot of these different things, of which we're going to be talking about in this presentation. So jump into the chat box if you're not. Let us know how you're enjoying the heart challenge so far, the 28 days. Each day we get a little bit. We talked about hydration, we talked about sleep, we talked about physical activity and movement. And there's really so many things you can do, and little changes mean a lot. It's taken me 20 years since turning holistic to get to where I'm at. So please take your time, but the faster you get it all in, the better. The faster you're wearing an organic cotton t-shirt, the better. The more you're drinking, quality water, for example, in glass, the better. Every step that you do makes a difference. And I'm not really the 80-20 rule guy. I'm the extreme because if you don't know my story, my father died at the age of 63. He was a cardiologist. I was a young cardiologist when he died. He died of a Parkinson's-like illness. I don't want that to be me. I have 4 children. I've got a wife who I love more than anything. So where to shop for organic shirts. David Hodges, we'll tell you about that in a little bit. I want to stick on topic. Okay, so, and they're out there, and we certainly help with that. So, again, what we want to talk about is, I'm a cardiologist. If you don't know me, I was with the biggest group in the state of Arizona, like I said, wearing a shirt and tie, dry cleaned every day. So did my father. My father died in 2007. Along the way, right, just before in 2005, I would meet the woman who would become my wife. She would open up my eyes to all things health and wellness. I would leave the biggest cardiology group in the state. I was a hospital-based cardiologist. I was the director of internal medicine, director of cardiology, director of cardiac rehab. And I would leave the big group in 2012 and start my own company, Natural Heart Doctor. I've got myself, Dr. Lauren Latanza, my other cardiologist, electrophysiologist, and a friend of mine from University of Illinois, over 35 years ago, Dr. Andrew Rudin is a brilliant electrophysiologist, Dr. Tanya Rainier, Dr. Shanna Baird, Dr. Keith Smeagol, and a wonderful team of coaches. So a lot to get through here, guys, and I'm going to try and get through as much as possible. But again, I do appreciate all of you being in this challenge, and we'll go from there. A lot of time for questions at the end. So what I'm going to tell you right now is I'm going to talk about the fact that heart attacks are still the number 1 killer, followed by strokes and cancer and everything. I'll talk about root cause in a second. Then we're going to talk about why cardiologists fail to do the right testing. And then we're going to talk about something called oxidative stress. And I want you to really understand oxidative stress and really what it all means. And then we're going to talk about how to get tested for oxidative stress. And we're also going to talk about ways to reduce oxidative stress. But it's something that the doctors are not checking, not because they're not intelligent, they're just not trained to check for it. Some are, I mean, and many of them do, but you really got to ask them. And that way you'll, again, be able to, get the information you need, because I'm telling you right now, things like total cholesterol, things like total LDL, HDL, they missed the mark. They missed the mark, and we can really go deep on this stuff. And just because other doctors online or maybe your cardiologist in the office doesn't understand this, doesn't acknowledge it, maybe makes fun of us, if you will, talks down on us, calls us wacko or quacks, doesn't mean that we're not quoting from the medical literature. It's an ignorance on their part, and it is a true education on our part. And that's why all of you are here, because again, you realize heart disease is the number 1 killer in the world, and you realize that the life expectancy of the American male is 76, the female 79. And if mainstream medicine wants to pat themselves on the back, for the last 45 years, we've gained 3 years of life expectancy. 3 years of life expectancy. So despite all the pharmaceuticals, all the statin drugs, all the stents, all the bypass surgeries, all the aspirin that's been swallowed, all the stress tests, we've got 3 extra years of life expectancy. It's embarrassing. And that is the ultimate arbiter. You don't need studies. You don't need anything except for something that tells you that lame fact that people are dying at the age of 76 as American males. And that's just not good enough. Okay, so what I want to talk about, again, right now is I want to talk about the fact that people with normal labs can still have heart attacks. Half of the people who have a heart attack are, quote, normal total cholesterol, normal LDL. So we know that it really goes a lot deeper than just those things. And total cholesterol is extremely important. Our body uses cholesterol to make things like vitamin D, make things like CoQ10, uses things like sex hormones to out of cholesterol. Digestion is from cholesterol. Our brain is heavily loaded with cholesterol. Aldosterone, cortisol for energy, made out of cholesterol. So all these things are extremely important for cholesterol. So we don't want to vilify that. And we don't want to vilify LDL as the bad cholesterol. That's pharmaceutical company speak. LDL has a purpose. That's why every animal on Earth that has a spine has LDL. So how can it be bad? Why would it be bad? Now, there can be oxidized, damaged LDLs. That's bad. And we can measure oxidative stress. We're going to talk about that. There can be oxidized HDLs. In fact, anything can become oxidized. Oxidation is the rusting process. It is technically speaking where an electron is removed from the outer shell of an atom, and that now is an oxidized element, which is an oxidized mineral, which again, it's just think about the rusting process of a car, of the change of when you cut an apple, how it turns brown, how an avocado turns brown. Those are the evidence of the oxidation process. You understand all that, right? Okay, so that's all the oxidation process. And the failures, again, of mainstream where they're looking at these basic, what I call 1970s tests, we can do so much better. Because what we want to know is we want to check your status. That's what all the testing is. Remember this, testing is status. And you can go into your car and check the gas tank level. That's the status of your car. Or if a check engine light goes on, you know that the status of the car is in trouble. You can look at your bank account. And if your funds are low, you know your financial status may not be good, or your retirement, or your business things, anything where you're looking at your status. You can look at how many friends you have on social media, and that would be a measure of your social media status, if you will. But I would agree with you that the quality of the friends is better than the quantity. All right. So that's the status, and mainstream is not really doing that. They just tell us, go take a statin drug, and that's what we have for you. Go get a stress test. Go get a CT scan. Their toolbox is limited in that it's only pharmaceuticals and procedures. They're not giving us meaningful health advice. They're not telling us how we should optimally eat, live, and think, and that's what we're doing every day inside of this challenge. That's what we're doing inside of this challenge every day. So the metrics in the lab tests, I kind of think of as, if we use this analogy or this metaphor, the tree. So up in the top of the tree, our branches and our leaves, we have diseases or labels. The medical doctors are really good at giving people labels. So someone's labeled with high blood pressure, someone's labeled with coronary artery disease, someone's labeled with a heart attack or stroke, someone's labeled with autoimmune disease, or maybe it's a label like fatigue or brain fog or low energy or overweight. And below the surface are the roots, and that's the root cause. Those are the things that we talk about, the violations of eat well, live well, think well. And when you violate eat well, live well, think well, when you have too much bad stuff, not enough good stuff, that's when you get sick. And that's when the labs change. That's when the labs change. So when they change at time 0 and we make changes and then we retest down the road and see how we did. So my favorite test, if I had to pick one test, it's a test of oxidative stress that I'll be talking about a little bit later, and then we'll send you an email follow-up. And we've had thousands of people order this. It's called the heart attack risk test. The heart attack risk test, HART. Heart attack risk test is what it is. And a little bit later, we'll give you the link on how you can order that test if you want to do it. What's cool about it, too, is that it's done at home. There may be a way to go anonymous on this, Susan. I'm not sure how it is, but there may be a way that you can go anonymous. So that's certainly something we can promote next time for anybody who wants to be a little bit more private in their question areas. Okay, so we'll talk about the heart attack risk test. We'll give you the link. We'll email you the link as well. So sit back and relax. Don't get nervous about it. But, it's an at-home test. It's a urine test. You send the urine in, you get the test results, and then you get the opportunity to review it with one of the practitioners at Natural Heart Doctor. Okay, so that's that particular test that we're talking about right there. So I want to talk more about oxidative stress because oxidative stress measures an imbalance of what we call pro-oxidation forces versus antioxidant forces. Now, you're all familiar with antioxidants. You're familiar with things like vitamin C. You've heard of that as an antioxidant, and vitamin E as an antioxidant, and even, resveratrol or some of these plant-based polyphenols as antioxidants. Maybe you've heard of glutathione, which is a tremendous antioxidant. And there's a lot of different ways that we can use our body to, and actually the reason why LDL gets oxidized oftentimes is because it's trying to be used as an antioxidant. Okay. So if we have too many pro-oxidative forces, and remember, oxidation happens in our mitochondria as well as we're burning fuel, food, and oxygen, and we're turning food and oxygen into water and carbon dioxide. So we're making cellular water and we're making cellular energy. So it's interesting. We talk about one of the important things early was kind of hydration and minerals, and that's all critically important. But the best water is what your body makes internally, and that's called cellular water. Your body actually makes its own water inside the mitochondria, and that's the best. And you want your mitochondria, those fuel factories inside the cells, to be running optimally, and you don't want them generating a lot of oxidative products without the antioxidants. Okay, so that's the measurement of what we call oxidative stress. And again, when you have too much bad stuff, not enough good stuff, that's the problem. So plastic is a pro-oxidant force. Pesticides, air pollution, smoking, vaping, alcohol, these are all pro-oxidative forces. Artificial flavors, artificial sweeteners, artificial colors, pro-oxidative forces. Seed oils that are already coming damaged and oxidized are pro-oxidative. That's the concern with them, is that they generate oxidative stress, which is why we are big promoters of using real unprocessed fats for cooking, things like butter and ghee and tallow products that are as close as possible. Really full spectrum clean products like olive oil and coconut oil. Down here in Costa Rica, there's coconuts all over the place, and I was just eating a fresh coconut that actually we collected off the tree, and we opened it ourselves, and I cut it open with a machete, and the meat was just delicious. Yet if there's one thing I can remember from back in the day about what to avoid, it was like this: the poster child of saturated fat was the coconut, that's high in saturated fat. And yet people in the South Pacific, they eat coconuts all day long, and none of them have any problems. And I look back on that, I'm like, how did I not realize, what the truth is? How did I not realize that real food is medicine? And back in the day, it would have been like, oh, well, some kind of hydrogenated soy oil or corn oil, that those were good things to eat. And now I can understand, obviously, it's absolutely laughable. So those are my favorite oils. So we talk a lot about diet, eat organic food, that's for sure. That's another way to prevent oxidative damage. So no matter what food you eat, get the chemicals out of it and have it as close to real food as possible. I think eating olives is better than olive oil. I think coconuts is better than coconut oil. I'm not saying never to use those things, and I don't want you to get caught up in the minutia. And some of these things, a little bit of macadamia nut oil. I mean, against a little bit of black cumin seed oil. There's a little bit of sesame oil. These aren't going to kill you, people. And it is the cheap, highly processed, highly oxidized seed oils that are going to get you. If you have a craft bottle of organic sunflower oil, I don't think that's the problem. Now, the other thing you could do is that when you test your status, now you can see if you're suffering from oxidative stress. And if you're not suffering from oxidative stress, you really don't have a ton to worry about if you're looking at one test. Obviously, we can do so many different, deep dive tests, which we do at Natural Heart Doctor. And if you are willing to make the investment or have the capability to make the investment, then you can certainly do that. And you will be rewarded, because I love all the metrics. I mean, listen, in business, you can wake up in the morning and just check your bank account balance and say things are good, or you can really know the metrics. And the more metrics you know, the more you know about your business, and the more likely it is to be successful. That's being said from a wannabe businessman to get the message of health and wellness out there, Dr. Jack Wolfson, cardiologist. First and foremost, I'm a doctor. I've got no business training whatsoever. I rely on great people around me to help me get my information out there to the world and distribute what I think are some of the best supplements in the world as well. And, over time, I hope to become your trusted resource. There's been a lot of stuff in the news most recently. I don't want to name any names, Peter Attia or Deepak Chopra. I don't want to do any name dropping, but the reality is that you really got to look at who you are going to align your health philosophy with. And I'm not a health guru. I'm a cardiologist who has been practicing now holistic living and holistic cardiology for over 20 years. So I know both sides very well. I just fall to the extreme on the health and wellness side, where it is a pharma last mentality, not pharma first. And if you want to be with a doctor who's, let's do everything we can naturally first and then use pharma last, that's me. And, listen, I also, tend to, admonish or bag on, if you will, the medical establishment. But for emergencies, go to an emergency room. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that. Obviously, emergencies good, but for the treatment, the prevention, treatment, and reversal of chronic disease is paramount. Is paramount. Okay. So next, I want to talk about if your test comes back and you have, oxidative stress, what you're going to do about it. But the first thing I also want to say is that, again, the mainstream doctors, they don't have time for a lot of these extra tests. So therefore they will say that they're not necessary. But really what's nice about the oxidative stress test is that it's done at home, tells your status, and it's very easy to repeat. A coronary artery calcium scan is radiation based. So I don't recommend that. I've got great blogs on that as well. And it's not something you can easily track. You don't check it and a month later and see how you're doing. You can check it years later, and invariably you'll be doing worse if you follow their plan, because statin drugs increase coronary calcification. So that's not going to slow it down or reverse it. So I don't order CT scans. I don't like total body MRI. I don't do any nuclear stress tests, and I used to do those. But what we want to do is really look at very in-depth blood, urine, and stool testing, and we can do that and give you just tremendous results that the medical doctors, again, they only, as someone mentioned before here in the comments, they only have time for the 5-minute visit. Hey, how are you? Jimmy, Barbara, Patricia, Angela, Krishna, just check your, here's your stat, check your cholesterol. It's high. They'll tell you family history is a problem. They'll blame it on your genetics, and just take a statin drug, get a stress test on the way out. Goodbye. That's what they'll tell you. Now, while you're here, let me tell you again, your genetics are perfect, people. Every single person on this call, your genetics are perfect. You're either built by God or through the evolutionary process, whatever you choose to believe. I certainly believe in creator of this. I do believe in Yahweh as my God. Just so you know who I am, which is, again, very important. And I'm willing to share anything, with you all about where I'm at in my journey. But nonetheless, however we got here, we're perfect. So if we're built in the image of God, or even the long story evolutionary version, our genetics are perfect. Why would we have a heart attack? Gene, 100 million Americans have high blood pressure. Do you think they all have bad genetics? 1 out of 3 people? You think we've got such faulty DNA? And why don't gorillas and monkeys and other animals have high blood pressure when they live in the wild? You put them into captivity and you feed them junk. Yeah, they'll get it. So, all right. So what I want to tell you again is that we need to stop blaming genes, because when you blame the genes, it means there's nothing you could do. Take a pharmaceutical, and get on your way. And that's couldn't be further from the truth. There's definitely a much better way. And unfortunately, mainstream medicine, they are just controlled by the pharmaceutical companies, and it is a revolving door of doctor, hospital, pharmacy. And that's the issue with all that. But presumably you all know that already, and that's why you're here. Okay, so if we do the measurements of oxidative stress, and if your test comes back normal, I wouldn't rest on my laurels with that. I would definitely still work on keeping doing what you're doing to get the job done, and you keep getting retested, because sometimes your oxidative stress can be normal, but down the road it'll be elevated, and you better start to understand why that's the case. So if your oxidative stress is high, let's talk about number one thing you can start to remove is that you can remove the food-based chemicals. Like I talked about a few minutes ago, you can go with organic and natural food. It doesn't have to be certified organic, but one of the reasons why we moved to Costa Rica, although it's very easy to get quality food in the United States if you, again, if you plan for it. You can't go to every restaurant and ask for it or something like that. You got to make an effort, but it's available if you make the effort. So if we get organic food, get the pesticides out of our food, that's going to be a wonderful strategy to keep that oxidative stress at its lowest. And if you know me, I love to eat free-range grass-fed meats. I love to eat wild seafood, which I think is the most important food. I love to eat eggs. Obviously, I'm talking about the best pasture-raised eggs. I'm talking about using dairy, and preferably raw dairy. I'll occasionally do organic, pasteurized, but in general, I'm always trying to get raw dairy. And what's great about raw dairy is that it's loaded with good bacteria. It's loaded with the good probiotics in there. And again, along with that, so seafood is a super duper hack. So eat seafood. If you do dairy, do it raw. Cheese, butter, etc., that have the live bacteria in there. And another way to really light up your gut in just a healthy way, because gut health equals cardiac health, first and foremost, it starts in the gut, is through fermented foods. Fermented foods like kimchi, sauerkraut, even kombucha, the kefir and the like. So that's also very important, as well. So Deshandra, a lot of things can cause oxidative stress. It's not just a food story, but I just gave you the food story there. Another one of my favorites here, I did a video to Instagram recently about me eating the cacao fruit, which inside there are the cacao seeds, which somebody can add sugar to or milk or other things, to it and process it. And now it becomes chocolate. And this, in a particular situation, Ellen Garlow Hatch in the house. Great to see Ellen. Hello to you, Daniel, and the family. So the raw cacao, I think, is wonderful. Again, I love avocardio, and there you go. So, all right. So that's the food part of the story. And then also, again, we talked about the seed oils. It's not that I'm tremendously anti-seed oil. Like, I don't think that's the biggest villain. I think there's plenty other food villains. But, I don't think organic sunflower, seed oil is the problem. I just don't really fit it into my diet. It's not like a real food. So I don't find a situation where I would, really consume it. So again, we go, these 7 things. Number 1, go organic. Number 2, eliminate those processed oils whenever possible, and using those more stable, fats like the tallow, the ghee, the butter, love those. I do use olive oil, not a tremendous amount, but again, just because I would rather use other cooking fats. Number 3, daily walking. Physical activity is key, and the walking is super simple. And if you can put that on your refrigerator, that every time you're done eating, or maybe when you do the dishes and then you go outside for a walk. Outside walking is the simplest, easiest strategy, evidence-based as well. So that's really good. to do. I love building muscle, push-ups, pull-ups, squats, lunges. We're down here in Costa Rica, surfing, body surfing, paddle boarding. So all those water activities are all great. So please, consider, having fun with exercise. If you like to mountain bike like I do, mountain bike. If you like to ski like I do, ski, please do. So that's just a great way to really improve your ability to cleanse out those antioxidants through the walking process. Now, number 4 would be when your body really starts to recover and your body really starts to repair is when you sleep. So if we kind of go back to the biblical version and even the evolutionary version, first there was darkness and then there was light. And that's circadian rhythms. First it is dark and then there's light. So everything that we were created into, everything that we're created from, that is the optimal way to live. That is the optimal way to live. So when you're doing those things, when you're in those circadian rhythms, so what does that mean? It means you need to, when you sleep, that's when you recover. Your liver starts to cleanse itself. Your liver produces these antioxidants. When you're in sympathetic overdrive, when you're in fight or flight, go, 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 your body doesn't detox, your body doesn't cleanse, your body doesn't create antioxidants, and you're in oxidative stress. So somebody mentioned before, well, my oxidative stress is high despite the fact that I eat all organic. Maybe it's a sleep story. Maybe it's a physical activity story. And I'll talk to you more about that in a second. And there's some great questions that are coming in as well, and we'll talk about those. Okay. So while we're sleeping, that's when the parasympathetic rest, digest, procreate comes in, where the body can cleanse and start to heal. So please, please, please go to sleep shortly after sundown, ideally. Go wake up before the sunrise. Watch the sunrise. Very, very, very important. Okay. We talked about stress. Okay. So let's talk about stress after I hydrate a little bit. Okay. So in the stress category, when you are under stress, like we talked about with, sleep, if you're in stress, fight or flight, then you don't deal with oxidative stress. So somebody mentioned before, again, they have high levels of oxidative stress, despite the fact they eat organic. Well, maybe it is a stress story. It could be childhood trauma. It could be post-traumatic stress disorder. It could be just the chronic stress of watching TV. It could be this, we're trying to make this challenge as stress-free as possible, because you're not doing the challenge for me, you're doing it for you. And yes, we've got different games and prizes that we offer here, but the biggest prize is longevity. Remember, most people die at 76 men and 79 women. And we call ourselves the home of the 100-year heart. But remember, I also want to say this here, and forgive me for kind of jumping around a little bit, but the goal is not better blood pressure, people. The goal is not even to get off blood pressure drugs. The goal is not to get off cholesterol drugs. The goal is not to prevent a heart attack, and the goal is not to prevent a stroke. Now, where am I going at here? The goal is to live your longest and best life so you can accomplish all your hopes and dreams that my father missed. Died at 63. He barely even knew his grandkids. And he's got so many grandkids now. Never knew them. And that is what we want. We want to live our best life as long as possible. Can we mountain bike until we're in our mid 80s? Older. Can we still ski when we're older? Can we still dance at the wedding, the granddaughter's wedding, when we're older? That's the way. That's the way. Somebody's mentioning here too, I have to find a way to get an appointment. It's the financial. We've got free discovery calls. We've got coaches. We've got doctors. There's all different price points, of all these different things, if you will. There's all different investments, and I understand a lot of people these days, are hurting in the economy, and I get all that. And a lot of you, again, you're on Medicare, you worked for many years, and you paid into Medicare, and now you're looking to get what you can out of it. It's very difficult for a doctor to work in the Medicare model and really provide you the information. You get the 5-minute visit, you don't get the 45-minute Wolfson consultation and stuff like that, that we do over here. Okay, so one of our favorite strategies when dealing with stress, again, number one is turn off the TV. Don't be stressed. Don't be aware of what's going on, but don't be, if you are impacted and you're fearful based on that, and you're kind of always watching, oh, what's going on, a new virus, a new housing crisis, a new financial crisis, a new tech crisis, a new geopolitical crisis. This party said this and this party said that. You can drive yourself nuts. I'll tell you an example. I had a patient who came to see me years ago, and I said, how did you sleep last night? He said, terrible. I said, why? And he said, oh, did you hear about the church bombings in Sri Lanka? And I'm like, no, I didn't hear about the church bombings in Sri Lanka. So I looked it up on the internet right there with him, and I'm, oh, this is horrible. These church bombings in Sri Lanka. I said, what are you going to do about it, though? What are you going to do about it? You're a wealthy man living in Scottsdale, Arizona. What are you going to do? You're going to go to Sri Lanka? Do you even know where Sri Lanka is on a map? You're going to go there? You're going to help? You're going to send money? The only thing this is horrific. This is a human tragedy. But the only thing that's going to happen to you out of this is you're going to have a heart attack and a stroke, because of it. And eventually he did have a stroke, as a matter of fact, for a whole variety of reasons. But that's the thing, is that he stayed up all night watching CNN or Fox or whatever he was watching. I'm not saying one or the other, but, and he had the heart attack, because of it. So you got to figure out a way to find your happy. Write that down. Put it in your cell phone. Type it to yourself in the computer. Find your happy. I was miserable in the mainstream cardiology job at the end, and because I was trying to make changes from inside the group. I thought I could still do it inside the insurance model, inside the big group. And then finally they sat me down, the other partners of the group, and they said, we know what you're doing. We understand that you believe in this. And actually the head of the group, the managing partner of the group, pulled me aside and said, I totally believe in this. But he said to me, Jack, you got to stand down. It's bad for business. People don't want to refer to us. The referring doctors don't want to send people to us because you're telling them not to take statins. You're taking them off blood pressure drugs. You're talking about this crazy paleo ancestral diet. You're talking about chiropractic. And they don't want to refer to us. So I said, Andre, I quit. I quit your group. I quit your sickness, and I'm going over to the health side. And here I am. Ellen Garlow Hatch, how about that version, huh? Pretty good. So, guys, I love this. I love speaking to you. I love speaking to all the people who are on the call right now. We have like close to 40,000 people in this challenge. #1 killer in the world. What do you think I do this for? What am I doing this for? I'm doing this I risk life, limb, and license to do what I do. And Ellen, you know that. And all you other people, there's so many people here, familiar names. You guys know, again, what I gave up to do all this. So, anywho, Don writes so great to see you and Sue, Don. Thanks, buddy. So happy to see your name on there, my friend. So happy. I'm not happy that you're freezing in Chicagoland, but hopefully, last time we spoke, I told you to get out of Chicagoland. You know that. Okay, so we got to find our happy. We also mentioned too about different breathing techniques. My favorite breathing technique, whenever you're like in a pinch, and this may be good too. Imagine this: you're at a holiday dinner and you're with your family, and I don't know, something controversial comes up, which it's bound to do, as opposed to how's the weather? It's great. How about the local sports team? They're great, or they stink. Or better luck next year, right? So, again, before we get into, I heard a very successful trial attorney say this one time, that before we respond to a question or make a comment, take a breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then talk. Another one of my favorites is alternate nostril breathing. In through one nose, out through the other, and then you switch. Watch. Out. In. Out. Repeat. So you do that 5 times and you'll be amazing. Thank you so much for the positive comments about the challenge. We're loving it as well. Okay. I'll be very clear for the people who are talking about, they were told to take statins. I've not prescribed statin drugs in over 12 years, so I'm not going to recommend them to you. And I'll make life real easy on you regarding my opinion. I don't like statin drugs. They have side effects. They don't work as well as you think they do, or as well as they tell you that they do. They lead to a false sense of security, and they keep you glued in the sickness system. At best, they lower your annual heart attack risk from 2% to 1.84%. For primary prevention, that stinks. When you work with me, when you work with the people at Natural Heart Doctor, our goal is 0%. We know what they do, they fail. We know what nature does. Nature wins. That's the way that it works. Okay, and then last but not least, that number 5 was stress. Number 6 was, again, like this, hydration. Here I've got a bottle of Evian. So it is a mineral water. That this happens to be sparkling version, so there is added carbonation. I don't drink alcohol anymore, so I do love sparkling water. That helps me to chill and to relax and just to really enjoy the moment without alcohol. I don't think there's any benefits to alcohol, so I've gotten rid of alcohol consumption. I used to be a big drinker, and so does my father. And there's no sob story of my father's drinking except for the fact he's dead. Okay. And then last but not least, good how, I used to really push a lot of the hydration story about drinking half your body weight in ounces daily. I don't really push that. I'm more like a drink when you're thirsty kind of guy, add the quality minerals, kind of guy, the Shilajit tar that we've recommended in the email. I also want to say this, sometimes people get upset, they're like, oh, I didn't know you were going to be, selling me on something. Everyone's always got something to sell. Listen, people ask me my opinion about where I get my organic clothing. People care. So I got to tell them, people, they want to know from a cardiologist, what's the best test? What's the best chocolate? What's the best olive oil? What's the best supplement for this? What's the best organ product? Where do I get my meat? Where do I get my seafood? They want to know that. And I'm going to tell them that. Why wouldn't I tell them that? Why wouldn't I try? Do I make any money off of that? If you buy my supplements, do I make any money? Of course I make money. I got bills to pay. I got staff, I got staff on here right now. Steve Hetrick's in the house. Lauren Edwards is in the house. I got Chuck and Jenny in shipping. I got Chuck's son. I got Chuck's daughter working in the company. Jenny's daughter is working in the company, Chuck's son's spouse is working in the company, so we got a lot of people over here, and they're all great people. And I love Dr. Latanza. Everybody practices virtually, by the way. Okay. So, so after we drink the high quality water, and we want to drink in glass, we want to avoid plastic. Plastic may be one of the biggest things, detrimental to our health. Outside of mold and living in a water-damaged house. Stay tuned, because again, the more time you spend following me, the more time you, the more time you spend, listening to our information, the better. You're good to go there. Okay, so and last but not least, antioxidant-rich foods. Those are going to be the fruits and the vegetables also. I mean, of course, it's going to be free range. The meats and the seafood are always great, but I'm not the carnivore cardiologist. I'm not the keto cardiologist. I'm a paleo hunter-gatherer guy, and I am in Costa Rica right now, and I tell you that I eat a lot of fruits and a lot of vegetables, and they are healthy, and I'm happy, and my numbers look absolutely fantastic. So that is our top 7 over there. Okay, so once you measure your oxidative stress, again, it's an at-home urine test. It is a test that we sell from a company called Genova Diagnostics. Genova is a CLIA certified lab. They are well known in the health and wellness industry. They've been around for like 40 or 50 years, and they are just state of the art. I was recently in Las Vegas at the biggest health related event in the world called A4M, and Genova was there front and center because they are a leader in that. Now, that's the one test that we get from them. The rest of our testing we actually do from a company named Vibrant. And if you get our full chat panels and stuff like that, you'll see that. But I really like the Genova urine test. Again, it's done at home. It's a urine sample, and then you send it into the company. Now, if you do order, remember, you got to put your birth date on the packaging slip, and we're going to ask you, so you're going to make the purchase, and when you make the purchase, we will ask you, or you can put it into the notes section, your birth date, and then, again, we'll reach out and we'll make sure, because obviously we've done thousands and thousands of these, and we'll get that information to you. And so you do that, and then you collect, and then we get the results in about 2 weeks. You get the results emailed to you, and then you have the opportunity at no extra charge to review that with one of the practitioners. And then now we know your status on the oxidative stress. Steve on my team put it in there, so all you got to do is click on that link. It'll open up a new window, and you lose your place here on the protocol or on the webinar. So. And then after that, of course, with the review, we'll give you a plan of attack for after that. Like, how are we going to fix this? So if it's normal, what's next? If it's abnormal, what's next? Do we need to retest? Do we not need to retest? And go from there. Paula, you definitely cannot order directly from the company. You can't. It's a doctor's line company, so you have to order it from a healthcare practitioner. All right. So, who should get the tests? Who should get the oxidative stress? I think anybody who wants to know their heart attack risk should get it. People who are concerned, maybe they, maybe they do have a family history of heart disease, which again is so common because we eat, live, and think like our family members did. It's not a genetic problem; it's a lifestyle, problem. But if you think, listen, you got high blood pressure, high cholesterol. If you're concerned, you have atrial fibrillation. It's a great test to get and go from there. But, it's not the only test in the world, but I think it's the easiest, simplest at-home test you can do that from just such a high quality lab. And again, ultimately, if you repeat the test down the road, you can repeat it in 2 months or 3 months or 6 months. And if your numbers look better, that's your status. Your health status is better. You're at lower risk of a heart attack, stroke, and dying. So if you want, really clarity, this is the most direct step you can take. This is the most direct step that you can take to assess what your status is. All right. So, again, we're on day 7 of the challenge. If you've made it this far, congratulations to you. Every little bit makes a difference. We have some great questions in here about, again, what kind of sweetener, to use, or, what's our favorite supplement. I mean, there's a lot of different things that are here, but just keep going one step at a time, one day at a time. And the beautiful thing is sleep, movement, outdoor activity, sunshine, outdoor natural light. Those things are free. You don't need any money for that. That's not a money thing. So please, take a look at some of our thoughts there. Again, if you what's going to be coming up, we're going to be talking more in the next few days about building a long-term plan. We're going to talk about tracking numbers. We're going to talk about, individual concerns, that people have, again, if you want to put that into the chat box, you're welcome to. Like, what are your concerns? Are you here because of high blood pressure? Are you here because of cholesterol? Are you here because of coronary artery disease? Are you here for general health and wellness? Are you here for cardiomyopathy? Are you here, because of, again, other heart rhythm problems? So, all right. I'm just kind of going through my notes of the things that I wanted to talk about. So, ultimately, again, we talked about the oxidative stress problem. We talked that the oxidative stress test is a great way to measure your problem. We talked about 7 different ways to lower your oxidative stress. We talked about how if you stay in the mainstream medical system, it's not a longevity strategy. It's not. That's why I left it. And the real crime is when the doctors know the truth, or anyone knows the truth, but they don't live the truth. That's such a crime. A lot of people, coronary artery disease, high blood pressure, bypass surgery, had a heart attack. Yeah, Ellen, I'm excited for week number 2 as well. So let's see here. So again, if you feel normal, well, I hope you continue to feel normal. You don't have to have symptoms to get tested. You still ideally would get tested. So don't forget to get tested. The heart attack risk test is what that is. It's an investment. It's not free. And again, you got to, because it does come with a very, the testing company does charge money for that. And like I said, we include the review, at no extra charge, just to make sure you're on track. If you have any questions, obviously, email us, health@naturalheartdoctor.com. The replay for this will be available. And again, we're just so excited to see you over here. I actually do YouTube lives on different topics every Wednesday at noon Eastern. So if you want to write that down, if you're here on YouTube, we do YouTube lives, either myself or my team, every Wednesday. So you may want to take a look at that as well. All right, let me jump into some of the questions that have been asked. And if you want to repeat your question, you're welcome to. Let's see here. Everyone's saying fantastic challenge. Love the daily tidbits. Love the emails. Love the challenge and learning. So far helpful. What do you think of Mimi Guarneri's program? Mimi is a vegan. I don't know if her program is vegan or not, but I'm not vegan. So there you go. DB Bowers, I've not learned anything new yet on the 28-day challenge. Well, what we're really trying to do is provide some basic level information for people to start to get healthy on a general basis. But I would also ask you, DB Bowers, with all due respect, right? I just told you that your mitochondria make cellular water. So if you want to Google that and go deep dive on that, go on that, because we're all concerned about what kind of bottled water we're drinking. Does it have plastic? Does it have minerals? Do we add minerals to it? That's all important. But when you feed your body good food, and mostly saturated fat, and the good quality fats, the omega-3 polyunsaturated fats that we get from seafood, when you eat those, that combined with the hydrogen atoms that are stripped off those fats from the fat, the hydrogen combines with oxygen that we breathe in, and that creates cellular water. And then we exhale the CO2, and we also make cellular energy, known as ATP. Super cool. All right. Loving the challenge. Shalom from Jerusalem. What do you think of hydrogen water? It's okay. There's really not a lot of data on it, but I don't really see much of a downside. Drinking in glass or steel is certainly good. Kimberly's loving the challenge. Do we need to add minerals to reverse osmosis? Definitely. Reverse osmosis is totally stripped. You got to add to it for sure. Yeah, Carol, again, you're talking about the cardiologist, and, the cardiologist, this is meant to be a partnership. This is not a dictatorship. This is a partnership. This is not my way or the highway. This is a partnership, not a dictatorship. Find a doctor who's willing to be your partner, or get a new doctor, or work with us. You're certainly welcome to. Your thoughts on Strophanthus? Not really a big fan of it. Do you recommend the coronary artery calcium scan test? I mentioned before that I definitely don't. Applying all these tools, how long does it take usually to see changes on tests like an echo? An echo, can change. It may take a little bit of time, but it definitely can change depending on what we're looking at. Suggestions on high LP. I'm going to assume that's little a, not big A, that you have there. Bob Palmer, 5084. Elevated LP little a. I've got some really good blogs on that as well. We use time-release niacin. We use Optilipid. We use natural blood thinners like Flow, FLOW, and Arterysil. We have a lot of good information on that. Mary, you want to, again, it's really, you want to know in-depth information, oxidative stress markers. You want to know many other things, oxidized LDLs, for example. If your panel isn't really changing on some of the supplements that you're on, again, we got to continue to peel back the onion, because there's a root cause. And as much as I say, you're not deficient in pharmaceuticals, you're not deficient in supplements. There's a root cause as to why you still have these abnormalities. If you have high cholesterol, you need to figure out why. What causes major herxing with ozone? Ozone kills a lot of things, so you're going to have a die-off reaction from that. My cholesterol is 195. Does that require a statin? Not in my book. No way, shape, or form. LP little a, Susan, we just talked about that. Sammy girl, do you need an oxidative stress test if you already know you have heart disease? That's a great reason to get it, because you want to know your status of having a cardiac event. Thermography is not helpful as it relates to heart disease. It's a good test for other things, but it's not really that. All right. All right, some great questions in here, guys. I don't want to stay on more than the hour. Fermented carrots are great. Totally. Raw kefir, I agree. I love using virtual reality in an app. I don't like virtual reality. I try to minimize tech whenever possible. Tommy Hilliker, do your supplements work? Are they effective? Well, the main supplements we recommend are food. So it's like, does food work? Does eating unvaccinated, pasture-raised, free-range, field harvested elk, liver, heart, kidney, does that help? Yeah, it's going to help, no doubt. Wild salmon roe, best seafood in the world. Does that help? Yeah. How difficult? Stop BP meds. Pretty easy, JP. Would love to help you with that. Ghee for baking instead of coconut oil. I don't think it's necessarily better. It's probably better, but I like both of them. Gluten, I used to be highly, anti-gluten. Now I'm just a little bit anti-gluten. I think there's bigger factors that damage the gut microbiome. PTSD from COVID. Don't eat wheat. Nattokinase, our product Flow, I think, is a great natural blood thinner. We're not trying to compare it to other pharmaceutical blood thinners, anticoagulants. Yeah, Joe, some of our supplements, especially the elk, and the organs, they're definitely an investment. You buy more bottles, which is more of an investment up front, but you actually get it for a lot cheaper overall. You can get the organs for under $4 a day, and it's food. It's part of the food budget. You're not going to feel full like you just had a pepperoni, deep dish pizza from my hometown of Chicago, but you will notice that you are full of nutrients, and you're not going to be stuffed, but you'll be full of high quality value. Do we ever provide discount codes? Susan, the only time we actually do like any kind of a sale is around Thanksgiving, if you will. But you can always email us, and we can see what we have, for you regarding discount codes, and go from there. And discount codes, discount codes, usually if you're patients of ours too, we pass out discount codes, from that. But, when you pass out discount codes to everybody, some people get them, some people don't. It's not really fair, if you will. But like I said, maybe if you email us. Janice, my mother passed away at 64 of a heart attack. I mean, it's very sad, but there's no heart attack gene. There's only too much bad stuff, not enough good stuff. And there you go. Okay. If you're able to do each task daily, that would be of the most benefit. Exactly. That's what they're there for. Okay, Joanne stopped her statin in September. Again, a lot. How do you feel about stevia? Yeah, stevia I'm not a big fan of stevia. If I had to pick one of the non-nutritive sweeteners, it would be monk fruit. It would not be erythritol, xylitol, sorbitol, any kind of sugar, alcohol, totally against. Metformin, I prefer a product, Optilipid, which contains berberine. What do you prescribe to replace statins? If I'm going to use a supplement instead of, to clear out old LDL particles, we're not going to stop the production, but we're going to clear out old LDL particles by upgrading LDL receptors. We call that Optilipid, OPTILIPID.com. Sheila, my doctor said I need a stent, or excuse me, a torvastatin because I have stents. Listen, that's what doctors say. You can, what I try and do, guys, and I'm going to, I'm not a fan of stem cell therapy supplements. I don't really think there's much science or anything there to beef up, and some of these different patches. I just don't do it. I don't really get into it. I don't really care to learn about those necessarily. I got enough to learn about. I don't really care about those. But I will say, again, is that I want to be the attorney for the good guys. I want to be the attorney for the holistic practitioners. I'm going to present my case to you. My other colleagues at the old cardiology group and all the docs I trained with and trained under in Chicago, they're going to be the attorneys for the medical side, for the pharmaceutical model, and the hospital side, and the insurance side. And we're going to present our case to you, and then you're going to decide. It's a free world. It's a free country in the United States for sure, right? So you're going to decide what works for you. That's what it's all about. So that's all I've ever wanted is let me tell you my side, which is nature and God's side. And then you're going to hear from the other side. And now you make the choice, and now you're going to live with it. Now you can always change as long as you don't die. But the problem is, I don't think it's either or as far as success. On their side, you live until you're in your late 70s on average. On our side, the biblical side, that's when you live until you're 120. And then you pass away in your sleep. And hopefully you go to heaven. What else can I say? I've gone an hour. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm sorry I didn't have a chance to answer all the questions. I'm down here in Costa Rica and I'm sweating, which is great. To sweat. I love sauna. I feel like I'm in a sauna right now, but we are actually up at elevation. We've got good breeze, and we're trying to live our best life without mold. So again, thank you all for being in the challenge. Continue with it. Don't fall off. Stay on track. But if you miss a day, it's okay. Pick up the next day. Stay with us at Natural Heart Doctor. Let us guide you on your way to health and wellness now and for many, many, many years to come. Thank you again. We'll be back with more great episodes. We'll be back with more lives. And again, thank you all for being here. Have a great rest of your weekend.